First guest is a good friend. He's a magnificent actor. He's won 2 Oscars, 7 Academy Award nominations, starred in 3 dozen films. The latest one is titled Missing. Would you welcome, please, Mr. Jack Lemmon. 3 dozen films. My God, I didn't know that.
I didn't either until you said it, and I almost had a heart attack back.
A lot of pictures.
Didn't realize it, yeah.
I often ask even friends of mine, and you're certainly a friend of mine, just for the fun of it, what is the worst picture you ever made? You've made so many great pictures, but what? If you got one that's a
You got about an hour?
No, come on, you haven't made that many. Is there one turkey somewhere along the line? We've all had performances where you look at it and you say, wow, I wish I hadn't done that, or...
Yeah, and you never know while you're doing them. You really don't. As you know, you work just as hard on a bad show as you do
Nobody
on
goes
a
out
good
to make
one,
a bad picture or a bad TV show.
You sure don't. There were several, really, that I think probably were the lowest grosser. Well, they hit the 50-cent houses in about 10 minutes. A long time ago, I did one called Love, L-U-V. And that would go right down the tubes. And a few years ago, I did one called Alex and the Gypsy. I know that my agent saw it. I think my mother, my aunt, me, Felice, Courtney, Chris.
That was the
you saw it?
I saw the
and
picture.
We're still friends.
Oh, no. Right. There were good moments in the picture. No, that's what they... You know, when people want to say...
I'm so thrilled I came here. I can't tell you.
Isn't it awful? You bring a friend on and right away say, what's the worst thing you've ever done? I saw one the other night, and... again, that they had played, and I watched it from Days of Wine and Roses. And I watched the thing. You were wonderful in that. God, you were good in that. I don't know how you managed to do it. Yeah. And I know my favorite scene, and I know, because we're going to talk about things that sometimes making pictures is not comfortable. They try to make you as comfortable as possible because you shoot on location. You're Missing was shot where?
In and around Mexico City.
In and around Mexico City. But that had to be a tough scene. If you remember Days of Wine and Roses, he plays an alcoholic, and Lee Remick, his wife. And you have a scene with Charles Bickford, who has the greenhouse, right?
Oh.
And you go into the greenhouse at night, you've fallen off the wagon, and you have hidden a bottle of whiskey in a plant, 4th row, 5th plant. No, it's fifth pot, 4th row. And you go through about a 5 or 6 minute scene. It is incredibly physical.
It was the worst experience I've ever had professionally, and it's the only time it ever happened to me. But the only way you can do a scene like that is you can't pick it up in the middle. And Blake Edwards, the director, who did a marvelous job in it, very wisely only had 1 cut. But even in the second half of it, we would go back and start it all over again in the very beginning so that you could get into it. So by the end of the day, we took a whole day. I was totally exhausted, but completely elated because I really felt...
Well, the intensity of the scene is
the best
incredible.
work that I could possibly do.
Yeah.
And everybody was just thrilled with it. We couldn't wait to come in the next day and see the rushes and see how it was. And I got in the next morning all ready for the next scene. And I went on the set, and it was like an iceberg. Everybody was just, sitting like that. The film had been ruined in the lab.
Oh, God.
And we had to do it all day long, all over again. And I'll never know whether it was as good as the first crack or not.
And to get up for a scene like that again and reach that level.
Terrible.
Yeah, wonderful scene, though. I was wondering with the actors, when you know you're on television and something you've done years ago, and it's on, you sit and watch it?
I'll flip by sometimes, and I won't deliberately go if I happen to read in the paper or in TV Guide or whatever that it's on.
Right.
But if I'm flipping around and an old one that I hadn't seen or thought of for a long time is on, I might watch it for a little bit.
Yeah.
But usually I start beginning to see more wrong than I see right, because now you've grown older, and in retrospect, maybe you would play the scene differently or something. And not that you're necessarily right, but I can't stand it. After a while, I got to flip, say,
that's the trouble with actors, especially if they know their craft. They start picking out the negative things and say, boy, maybe if I'd have read this line that way and so forth, but it's past.
Yeah.
Now, when you did Airport, Under the Water. That must have been...
That was fascinating, I must say, and I looked forward to it, because I had never done any snorkeling or, diving with lungs or any of that stuff, and I was working with the frogmen, who are really, they are crazy.
Yeah.
I think they've got a real death wish. I'm not kidding you. They're in there, oh boy. And, they used to, over in Nam and everywhere else, they would parachute in the middle of the night.
Into the water.
With the lungs on, into the water, and not open the chute until they were about 400 or 500 feet above the water, so that they could beat the radar and everything. And all they're doing is, while they're free falling down there, they're looking at a luminous dial that's supposed to tell them how many feet they've got left, you know.
Yeah.
And then whack, they'd hit the water and then end up 3 miles under, you know, going on up a river and then up, carrying machine guns and everything. They're crazy. Anyhow,
Did they teach you to scuba dive?
yeah, they taught me how to they taught me how to scuba dive and said one of the important things is you take care of your own gear, right?
Right.
That's your air there. Those are your lungs. And everything. I could hardly pick the things up. So after we'd been doing it for about 2 weeks, we're going down go very deep down in for a scene, and I get mine. I picked out mine. I know exactly what I'm doing. And they're all suited up, and they're just flopping into the water and going on down. And I picked them up. By now they were getting lighter.
Yeah.
You know, I said, damn, I'm getting in shape, and I'm feeling better. And hot dog, and I put them on, and I went on down there, and they were lighter. They were empty. I got down, I swear to you, it was pitch black. I know I was at least 100 feet down, and
Nothing?
Nothing. Now, I knew it. Did I panic? Of course not. I said, wait a minute, what is the signal for when you're in an emergency or this and that? There was very little light. They had lights on already and so forth. And I remembered, I thought it was something like this. Now, that means I'm in trouble. So a guy is swimming about 10 feet away, and he looks over, and I go like that, and he looks right back at me and goes, keeps right on going down.
Your buddies.
So I dumped the air, and I felt I had absolutely no air, I thought. But I want to tell you something. When you think, if you get an emergency and you think that you don't have air, boy, do you have air. I mean, telling you.
Amazing how long you can hold
We
your
really
breath,
don't
isn't it?
ever use our lungs fully. You know, it's like training opera singers learn how to use their lungs, really. We only use about half or 2/3. And I had to come all the way up, but I could not come up fast because I'd embolize.
That's right.
You go up about 10 or 12 feet, and you stop, and then you go more, and you have to let air out.
That's right.
I didn't have any to begin with, I didn't think. Well, I not only made it the 100 feet, but when I got through that last bit and saw the top, I came out of the water and went about 6 feet straight up into the air, man, and then back down.
And still had plenty of air.
And I could have gone another 100 feet.
Are you
Are you
superstitious when you go in a picture like things like that? Do you carry good luck charms? I know.
No, I know. There was one thing we do, though. Felicia always, I don't know how it started. I've forgotten, but I think it started even before we were married.
Yeah.
But she puts a marble somewhere, either in my briefcase or in my pocket or whatever, on opening day. A marble. I don't know. It's just a crazy thing. But I'll always find a marble. I'll get there and get in my dressing room and start emptying my pockets or something, and suddenly there'll be a marble. I don't know how it got there, but it got there. And it's a good luck token.
You've never had any really close calls then?
No, not really.
When you did the scene, I want to ask you, I know you probably get tired of answering questions like this, but Mr.
Not if
Roberts.
it's about me.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
In Mr. Roberts, when you did Ensign Pulver and you went down in the laundry room with a fulminate of mercury to put the bomb, you were testing it. And they had that wonderful soap sud scene with that huge explosion where you were, the whole passageway, stairway, everything was completely done with suds. Now, did you get that on one shot?
No, they got it in several shots. I did it once, and then a stuntman did it.
Right.
Because I began to get irritated, and we didn't realize what was happening. They couldn't use regular soap because of the consistency. It wouldn't stay fluffed up.
Right.
It would start to go down immediately. So they got some kind of a chemical. And so I did it and came through, and we then went to lunch, as I remember. And by the time lunch was over, I was beginning to get all red and irritated. So they had the stuntman do it. Well, both of us ended up in the hospital for a couple of days. Yeah. Unfortunately, we found out there was a slight irritant in there. So everything stopped for a few days.
That had to be one of your favorite roles.
Oh, yeah. That's
working on that.
I mean, to work with, I thought at that point, I said, well, here you are, kid, you're in your 20s, and you're about your third or fourth picture, and you're working with Hank Fonda, Jimmy Cagney, and Bill Powell, and in one of the great American plays, and this is it. You've hit,
When he stopped you, when Cagney stopped you on the ship, you'd been aboard how long?
Yeah, what was it, 8 months or
Well, he's been aboard the ship 8 months. And he says, Ensign Pulver, are you on my ship? And you said, laundry must keep you very busy. God, wonderful thing. Let's take a break. We're going to come back here and do things. There we are.